Oh my gosh, it has been such a crazy week. I have literally run out of time to make the video that I had planned. But rather than skip a video altogether, I thought this would be the perfect time to show you my everyday 5-minute face using all my current favorites. I have to get ready anyway, so let's get into it. So pretty much everything except the brushes fits into this little makeup case. So it is a pretty simple everyday makeup look. And I did cheat a little bit, and I went ahead and did my eyebrows off camera because I have to get up close and personal with a magnifying mirror to do my brows. But for my brows, I have been using the NYX Powder Louder eyebrow pencil for years. It is just perfect. It is a nice, I use it in the shade Taupe, and I just use this to fill in the center a little bit and the tail, and I'm good to go. You know, I really don't get very excited by brow products, and this works so well for me. So like I said, I've been using this for years. And then I'm just going to apply a little bit of my DRMTLGY Luminous Eye Corrector. Now this is going to take longer than 5 minutes because I am going to be talking about the products a little bit. You have heard me talk about this many times before. It comes in 4 shades, and I use the second to the lightest shade, shade medium. It has sunscreen, it has peptides, it's hydrating, and it also neutralizes the dark blue under my eyes very gently. It doesn't have as much coverage, for instance, as my Pixie Peach corrector, but this, the only thing I do not love is the applicator. You have to get out just a small amount. Oh my gosh. Yeah, just the tiniest amount. That's probably too much. This is a product that I will use pretty much almost every single day. Sometimes this is the only product I use over my sunscreen, a little lipstick, sunglasses, and out the door I go. So I put it on both my fingers, and then I just sort of apply it like an eye cream. I'm trying to get it really in that deep, dark inner corner. And I just pat it in place. And it's not a concealer. You know, the difference between a corrector and a concealer is a corrector uses peach, which is the opposite from the color wheel as blue and purple, to cancel and neutralize the blue-purple, whereas a concealer has enough pigment to actually cover. Some days I will use both the corrector and concealer. Today I'm just using the corrector because I am using the Do It All Tinted Balm. Oh my gosh. I have been using this non-stop for weeks. I've talked about it in I think my last 2 videos, so I'm not going to go on and on. I have it in the shade 210. I use my BK, what is this? BK, I can't read it because I can't see it. My favorite foundation brush, and I just swipe it on. Swipe, pat. It is so incredibly fast and easy. You know, it feels so good going on the skin. It's very cooling when it is applied, first applied, and it feels almost wet. It gives very light, natural, radiant coverage. It literally melts into the skin and is pretty much undetectable, but I hope that you can see it did cover my redness, or tone down my redness, I should say. You can build this up to a very light medium, but most days I just put a very sheer layer on. And like I said, what I love about this is it is literally undetectable. And I am going to take it with the same brush under my eyes because today I'm not using concealer. And that is, now I already did my skincare including my SPF. So that is it for skin tint, everyday skin tint. I will have a skin tint roundup coming soon, but this is a contender for top place so far anyway, at least for me. And then I don't usually set it, but I do like to set when I've used it under my eyes. So I'm still trying to use up the last of my Hourglass Ambient Lighting Powder in the shade Diffused Light. It's very expensive, so I'm using every last drop. And one of my favorite brushes is the BK Beauty 112. It's a small, angled, very soft and fluffy face brush. And what I love about it is the angle fits perfectly under my eyes. Just to make sure that concealer is set. Next up, I take my, what is this? This is the MAC paint pot in the shade Painterly. Matches my eyelid color perfectly, and it's just perfect to, you know, even out my eyelids. Some days if I'm not wearing eyeshadow, this is all I will do just to brighten up and even out my eyelids. It doesn't crease. And it also works beautifully as an eyeshadow primer. And for tight lining, again, for the past several years, I've been using the L'Oreal Infallible Gel Grip Eyeliner. It is a retractable eyeliner. It has a little smudger on the end, but I use this as a tight line for my upper lash line. It really just gives my eyes a little bit more definition, and it makes my eyelashes look thicker. I have this in the shade Brown Denim. There is Brown Denim. And this is, again, another one of those things I have a really hard time doing on camera because I have to get up close and personal. But what I do, see if I can get this done. I have a whole video on how to tightline because it took me a long time to figure it out. You see these ladies just doing that. I could not do that. What I do is I sort of close my eyelid onto the pencil, and then I just move the pencil back and forth, and I sort of scribble it in between the lashes. You know, this takes a little bit of practice, at least for me it did, but it really does make a difference. Can you see this eye is tight lined and this eye is not? Let me get this side done. Next is eyeshadow. Now I really do wear eyeshadow most days, but it has to be fast and easy. So usually I start with a little powder or bronzer in my crease. Actually, what I've been really enjoying is this Hourglass Ambient Lighting Powder in dim light, sort of to set the MAC paint pot. It is a barely there, you know, you can use a bronzer, but this is a barely there color, which I sort of discovered accidentally because I thought I was purchasing diffused light as a replacement for my setting powder, and I accidentally got dim light. But what I have found is it gives very subtle definition to my crease, almost like a bronzer, but much more subtle. And it also sets, you know, any concealer you put on your eyes or any primer. And I have really been enjoying it as a transition shade for a very natural look. Like I said, it's barely there, but it does make a very subtle difference. There we go. And of course I'm using my favorite, what is this? RèPHR brush number 12. It's a fluffy blending brush, and I have heard that RèPHR may be coming to Sephora, which would be amazing because they have beautiful, beautiful brushes, especially their eyeshadow brushes. An eyeshadow that I have been using nonstop since I purchased it is the Essence Cream Eyeshadow. This blew me away in terms of how it is the most, I don't want to call it a dupe, it is so incredibly similar to the Charlotte Tilbury Eyes to Mesmerize that I've been using and loving for years. Here is the Charlotte Tilbury. You can see how well used it is. This is about 4, maybe even 5 years old, and it is definitely on its last leg. And I had been considering repurchasing it, but once I picked up the Essence, I don't think I'm going to be repurchasing Charlotte Tilbury anytime soon. This is a fraction of the price of Charlotte Tilbury. $6 versus I think about $35. So this is one of my favorite finds of the year. You can apply it with fingers, but I really do like to use a very, very small brush. This is just a Real Techniques brush. And I just pick a little bit of the shadow and I like to use a small brush because it's just a little bit more precise. And just pat and smooth it on pretty much the entire lid. And then I'm going to take a clean, fluffy brush and just blend the edges. It's just a really beautiful sort of taupey color with just a hint of sheen. No sparkle, no glitter, just, I love it. Absolutely have been loving this. It does come in 3 shades. I think a deeper brown, sort of a rosy champagne, and a pearl. And one of these days I will pick up some other shades as well. But this is my most used go-to shade for sure. It's hard for me to see, you guys. I can't even tell if I'm getting enough on. There we go. And once again, blend, blend, blend. You're probably tired of hearing me talk about my Sephora collection. 24-hour retractable waterproof eye pencil in the shade Shimmer Taupe. This is a perfect shade to line my lower lash line without weighing my eyes down. So, and it has a little smudgy on the end. So I just take a little tiny bit of that. Lower lash line, meet the corner, and I do put a little bit on top as well, even though it almost is the same color as the eyeshadow. Oh my gosh, it's really hard to do this on camera because I need to be really close to a magnifying mirror. Those younger makeup gurus have no idea how challenging makeup can be when your eyesight starts going. All right, we're going to wrap this up with just a couple more products. Now, if I weren't talking this whole time, this would be 5 minutes. And let's see, where did my mascara go? Oh my God. Oh my gosh, I took everything and laid it out, and it's surprising how makeup can just literally disappear on my makeup table. Mascara. You're not going to be surprised to hear me say Maybelline Sky High Lash Sensational. I haven't purchased another drugstore mascara since I discovered this a year or 2 ago. I absolutely love the small, flexible wand that literally grabs every single lash. It provides length and volume. It doesn't clump. It doesn't flake. It's easy to remove. And again, I just wiggle at the base and pull it through. It even grabs those tiny, tiny inner corner lashes. And most days I don't go for, you know, tons of mascara, just enough to give me a more finished look. I've got a little thing there. But as you can see, mascara really does make a difference. And let's get a little color on my cheeks with Merit's Blush Balm in the shade Cheeky. My gosh, it's almost flat. Usually it has a dome. I have pretty much every single shade, and this is definitely my most used shade. You can apply it directly or with fingers, but I do always prefer a brush. And again, I'm going to use my BK Beauty 112. I love this brush so much. I have 2 or 3, so I keep 1 for powder and 1 for blush, and just pick up the blush and on it goes. It's a very sheer but buildable formula with a really, really pretty glow. Absolutely love it. It is literally foolproof. You really cannot overdo this. Now, I have heard some people say that it doesn't last that long on them. It lasts pretty well on me, at least during the winter months. However, I will say, in the summer, during the heat and humidity of the summer, I will very often double blush, meaning I will apply a sort of a neutral powder blush over this, and it sets the cream, and it just, double blushing just makes both blushes last that much longer. But I'm in a hurry today, and it's not super hot and humid. In fact, oh my gosh, spring. We've had some chilly weather again. I'm wearing cashmere. One of these days, spring will come. So that is just, you know, with this kind of blush, you really don't even need a highlighter because it really does have a really pretty glow. And last, but absolutely not least, is lipstick. And I have not been able to stop using this Morphe Lip Lock that I reviewed last week. I tried on every single shade. This is an incredible formula. Now, what I love about this is it's hydrating, glossy, incredibly long-lasting, and it does not feather into my lip lines. It comes in 10 shades, and the shade that wound up in my purse as my everyday go-to is called Whipped. What is it called? Whipped something. I'll put the name on the screen. And so what they said about this is that it is a unique formula that in one swipe lays down 2 layers. The first layer lays down the color, the pigment that bonds to the lips. And then the second layer is a gloss that helps the color, you know, stay. I can't remember exactly how they said it. But I have never tried a balmy, glossy lip butter like this that lasts as well as this. So let's get this on the lips. You know, all the colors are really pretty, but this one is the one, sort of my everyday, my lips but better go-to. Oh my gosh, it feels incredibly moisturizing. You can see the shine. And what they do say is if you wait 2 minutes, it will bond to your lips. And I have found that to be true. So in last week's video, I did show the test. I don't know if we'll have time now because my makeup is done. And these are the products I literally use every single day. They're my everyday go-to favorites. Everything fit into this little tiny bag. I literally, this would be what I would bring with me if I were traveling. Just easy everyday makeup. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video and would like to keep watching, YouTube thinks you might enjoy this video next. But if you do have to go, I have yourself a wonderful day, and I hope to see you in my next video.